My name is Evelyn Taylor, and at 62 years old, I learned a painful truth that no parent ever wants to face. Sometimes, the people you sacrifice everything for become the very people who believe you deserve nothing. If someone had told me a week earlier that my own daughter would watch in complete silence while her husband threw my suitcase onto the front lawn like a sack of garbage, I would have smiled and called them ridiculous. Not because it couldn't happen, because I believed I had raised my daughter better than that. I was wrong, terribly wrong. The October wind swept through the quiet streets of Bellevue, Washington, carrying crimson maple leaves across perfectly trimmed lawns. Children rode bicycles without fear. Neighbors walked expensive golden retrievers. Luxury SUVs gleamed beneath spotless driveways. Everything looked peaceful. Everything looked perfect. Until my suitcase came flying through the front door. It slammed onto the stone walkway with a sickening crash before bursting open. My sweaters rolled across the grass. A family photo album landed face down in a flower bed. Several books scattered across the driveway. Then, the silver-framed photograph of my late husband, Daniel, slid across the concrete until it stopped near the curb. The entire neighborhood turned toward the noise. A woman walking her dog froze. Two teenage boys stopped bouncing a basketball. Across the street, an elderly couple slowly stood from their porch swing. Everyone looked toward the Mitchell house. Ryan wanted them to. He stepped confidently onto the front porch, wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, a luxury watch glistening beneath the afternoon sun. His arms folded across his chest. His smile carried the arrogance of a man who believed he had already won. Then he shouted loudly enough for every house on the street to hear. "Get off my property, Evelyn. You've lived off this family long enough. I'm done pretending you're welcome here." His words echoed across the quiet neighborhood. Not a single bird chirped. Not a single child spoke. The entire street had fallen silent. Behind Ryan, standing just inside the doorway, was my daughter, Olivia. She wasn't crying. She wasn't arguing. She wasn't defending me. She simply stood there with both hands tightly clasped together, staring at the hardwood floor. I searched her face, just once, waiting for her to say the words every mother hopes to hear. "Ryan, stop. This is my mother. You're not treating her this way." Instead, she lowered her eyes, and in that single moment, something inside me quietly broke. Not my heart, my expectations. Ryan walked down 2 steps until he stood only a few feet away. His smile widened. "You have exactly 1 minute. Pick up your junk and disappear." No anger rose inside me. No tears came. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I simply looked at him. That silence made him uncomfortable. People like Ryan survive on emotional reactions. They enjoy arguments. They feed on humiliation. Silence denies them both. He frowned. "What?" Nothing to say. Slowly, I bent down, picked up Daniel's photograph, brushed the dirt from the frame with my sleeve. For a brief second, I smiled at the familiar face staring back at me. "You always told me dignity is something no one can take away." Then, I carefully placed the photograph inside my suitcase. Only after standing back up did I finally speak. My voice was calm, steady, almost gentle. "Ryan, are you absolutely certain? This house belongs to you." For a second, his confident expression disappeared. Only for a second, then he laughed, not a polite laugh, a loud, mocking laugh. Several neighbors exchanged confused glances. Even Olivia slowly looked up. Ryan pointed toward the mansion behind him. "I've never been more certain of anything. I pay every mortgage payment. I pay every property tax. I pay every utility bill. My family lives here. So yes," he smirked. "This house is mine." I quietly nodded. "Good." One simple word, nothing more. I slipped my hand into the pocket of my navy coat, pulled out my phone. Ryan rolled his eyes dramatically. "Oh please, who are you calling?" "The police," he laughed again. "They'll help me throw you out even faster." I unlocked the screen, pressed a single contact. The phone rang once, twice. Then a familiar voice answered. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Taylor." It was warm, professional, calm. "William Harrison speaking." I looked directly into Ryan's eyes, then quietly replied, "Mr. Harrison, it's time." There was no surprise in his voice, only one answer. I'll take care of everything. The call ended. I slipped my phone back into my pocket, closed my suitcase. Lifted it from the ground. Ryan burst into laughter once more. He turned toward the neighbors. You see, empty threats, pure drama, but something had already changed. Nobody laughed with him. Not one person. Because deep down, even strangers recognize the difference between confidence and cruelty. I walked toward my old silver Subaru parked across the street. Before opening the driver's door, I turned one last time. The modern glass mansion stood proudly beneath the autumn sky. Ryan believed that house represented everything he had built. His success. His status, his future. What he didn't know was that hidden inside a secure vault less than 15 minutes away sat a leather folder containing one document, one signature, one forgotten promise. A document powerful enough to erase every ounce of confidence on Ryan Mitchell's face. Within 48 hours, it would. 3 days earlier, rain tapped softly against my windshield as I drove north along Interstate 5 toward Bellevue. The heater hummed quietly. Soft jazz played through the speakers. On the passenger seat rested a small tin box filled with homemade chocolate chip cookies, Olivia's favorite. Even at 34 years old, she still loved the same recipe I'd baked when she was 8. Beside the cookies sat my overnight suitcase. I planned to stay only 2 weeks, maybe 3. Long enough to spend time with my daughter. Long enough to stop feeling so alone after another quiet autumn without Daniel. 5 years had passed since cancer took him from this world. 5 years, yet every morning I still reached across the bed before remembering his side would always be empty. Grief never truly disappears. You simply learn how to carry it. When Daniel died, I sold our waterfront home, bought a peaceful lakeside cottage, spent my mornings gardening, my afternoons volunteering at the local library, my evenings reading novels with a cup of tea overlooking the lake. It wasn't exciting, it wasn't luxurious, but it was peaceful, and peace is something money can never buy. Then one evening, Olivia called. Her voice sounded softer than usual. Mom, I've been thinking. I hate that you're alone all the time. Why don't you stay with us for a while? Ryan had even taken the phone. Absolutely, he said warmly. We have plenty of room. It'll be nice having family around. I remember smiling, thinking perhaps we were finally becoming close again. I had no idea that invitation wasn't offered out of love. It was the opening move of the greatest betrayal my family had ever planned. The moment I pulled onto Interstate 5, my phone lit up across the passenger seat. Olivia calling, I didn't answer. 30 seconds later, it rang again. This time, Ryan. I let it ring until the screen went dark. By the time I reached my lakeside cottage, my phone showed 23 missed calls and nearly 40 unread messages. I never opened a single one. For years, I had answered every call. Solved every problem, paid every unexpected expense, protected everyone from consequences they never even knew existed. That chapter of my life had ended the moment my suitcase hit the sidewalk. Bellevue looked very different from the driver's seat of Ryan Mitchell. As soon as I disappeared around the corner, Ryan turned toward the neighbors with a smug grin. Well, I guess that's finally over. Nobody answered. The elderly man across the street simply shook his head before quietly walking back inside his house. The woman with the golden retriever gently pulled the leash and continued walking without saying a word. Ryan's smile faded. He had expected applause. Instead, he received silence. He shrugged it off. They don't know the whole story, he muttered before slamming the front door. Inside the mansion, Olivia stood exactly where I'd left her. She hadn't moved. Ryan loosened his tie and poured himself a glass of expensive whiskey. You should be relieved. Olivia looked at him. Relieved, your mother has been living here for weeks. She wasn't contributing. I solved the problem. Olivia frowned. She cooked, she cleaned, she took care of everything while we worked. Ryan laughed. So, that doesn't give her ownership. He took a sip of whiskey before adding, honestly. She should have thanked us. Olivia looked toward the front window, where my car had disappeared only minutes earlier. Something didn't feel right. Not because I had left too calmly. She had known me all her life. Whenever something truly hurt me, I became quiet, dangerously quiet. That evening, Ryan invited two senior managers from his investment firm over for drinks. Music played softly through the built-in speakers. Crystal glasses clinked together. The conversation quickly shifted toward business. Then Ryan proudly announced, "Today I finally got rid of my mother-in-law." One coworker chuckled. "The one who moved in recently," Ryan nodded. "She acted like she belonged here. I reminded her exactly whose house this is." The men laughed politely. Only Olivia remained silent. Ryan noticed. "You've hardly said a word." "I'm just tired." "No," Ryan smirked. "You're feeling guilty." She looked away. "I don't know." Ryan leaned closer. "Olivia, your mother has always been too proud." She needed a reality check. Olivia wanted to believe him. She truly did, but one sentence kept repeating inside her mind. "Ryan, are you absolutely certain this house belongs to you?" It wasn't the question itself. It was the certainty behind it. Mom had never made empty threats. Never. The following morning, Ryan was halfway through breakfast when the doorbell rang. He glanced at the security monitor. A man in his 60s stood outside wearing a tailored navy suit and holding a leather briefcase. Ryan opened the door. "Can I help you?" The man offered a courteous smile. "My name is William Harrison. I'm legal counsel for Mrs. Evelyn Taylor." Ryan almost laughed. So she actually hired a lawyer. Over being asked to leave, Mr. Harrison's expression never changed. "I'm not here to discuss feelings. I'm here to deliver legal notice." He handed over a thick cream-colored envelope sealed with the emblem of Harrison and Cole Attorneys at Law. Ryan barely looked at it. "You can tell Evelyn she's wasting her money. This house belongs to us." Mr. Harrison adjusted his glasses. "Mr. Mitchell, I strongly recommend that you read every page before making another statement." Without waiting for a reply, he returned to his black Mercedes sedan and drove away. Ryan tossed the envelope onto the kitchen island. "What a waste of paper." Olivia slowly picked it up. "Ryan, please read it." He sighed dramatically. "Fine, if it makes you happy." He tore open the envelope. His confident smile lasted less than 10 seconds. Inside were certified property records, county registrations, trust agreements, insurance schedules, tax filings, and one letter addressed directly to him. Ryan unfolded it. His eyes moved across the first paragraph, then suddenly stopped. His face lost all color. Olivia stepped closer. "What is it?" Ryan didn't answer. He simply handed her the first page. Across the top, printed in bold black letters, the Taylor Family Property Trust. Underneath it, one name appeared in large type. Primary beneficiary, Evelyn Grace Taylor. Ryan blinked several times. "This has to be fake." Olivia kept reading. Every page carried official county certification stamps. Every signature had been notarized. Nothing looked fake. Nothing. For the first time since throwing me out, Ryan felt something unfamiliar. Fear. "I'll prove this is nonsense." He grabbed his car keys. "Where are you going?" "The county records office." "I'm ending this today." An hour later, Ryan walked confidently into the King County Recorder's office. He approached the reception counter. "I need ownership records." The clerk smiled politely. "Property address," Ryan gave it. She typed for nearly 30 seconds, then stopped, her eyebrows lifted slightly. "Just one moment." She checked another database, then another. Finally, she looked back at Ryan. "I'm sorry, sir. Our official records don't list you as the registered owner." Ryan laughed awkwardly. "I think you're looking at the wrong file. I've lived there for 6 years. I pay the mortgage. I pay the property taxes." The clerk turned her monitor slightly toward herself again. "No, sir. The records are correct." She paused, then read directly from the screen. "Current legal owner, the Evelyn Taylor Family Trust." Ryan felt his heartbeat pounding inside his ears. "That's impossible." The clerk shook her head gently. "I'm afraid that's exactly what our records show." Ryan stood frozen. For the first time in his life, he realized confidence meant absolutely nothing when standing against the truth. Ryan drove home in complete silence. For the first time in years, he turned off the radio. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles turned white. The words from the county clerk echoed inside his head. Current legal owner, the Evelyn Taylor Family Trust. No, he whispered to himself. This can't be happening. When he pulled into the driveway, Olivia was already waiting on the front porch. One look at his face told her everything. What happened? Ryan slowly handed her the printed property record. She read it once, then again. Finally, she looked up. My God, Ryan collapsed into a chair. I don't understand. I've been making every mortgage payment. Olivia stared at him. Have you? Ryan frowned. What do you mean? She quietly opened a kitchen drawer and pulled out a folder. My mom always handled the household paperwork. I never really looked at it. Inside were years of mortgage statements. Ryan flipped through them, then suddenly froze. Every monthly payment had come from the same account, Taylor Family Trust Financial Services. His breathing became shallow. I never noticed. No, Olivia whispered. You never cared enough to notice. That night, neither of them slept. Every hour Ryan refreshed his email, hoping someone would tell him it was all a mistake. Nobody did. At exactly 8:00 a.m. Monday morning, 3 vehicles entered the quiet Bellevue neighborhood. A black Mercedes, a King County Sheriff's SUV, and a moving truck. Neighbors slowly stepped outside. Curtains opened. Front doors cracked. The same people who had watched Ryan humiliate me only days earlier gathered once again along the sidewalks. A firm knock echoed through the house. Ryan opened the door. Standing outside were William Harrison, 2 sheriff's deputies, and me. I wore the same navy coat, the same calm expression. Only one thing had changed. This time I wasn't leaving. Mr. Harrison handed Ryan a folder. Mr. Mitchell, this is a court-authorized order terminating your occupancy under the Taylor Family Trust. Ryan stared at the document. No, there has to be another hearing. There has to be an appeal. Mr. Harrison calmly shook his head. The hearing already took place. You chose not to respond after receiving legal notice. The order is now final. One deputy stepped forward. You have 1 hour to remove your personal belongings. If you refuse, we are authorized to complete the eviction. Ryan looked at me. Evelyn, please, I made a mistake. I met his eyes. Yes, you did. Olivia slowly walked toward me, tears streamed down her face. I'm sorry, Mom. I should have stopped him. I should have defended you. Her voice broke. I was afraid of losing my marriage. I gently took her hands, and because of that, you almost lost your mother. She began crying even harder. I know, I'll never forgive myself. I wrapped my arms around her. For several long seconds, neither of us spoke. Sometimes, silence carries more truth than words ever can. Professional movers entered the mansion. Large boxes appeared one after another. Designer furniture, luxury watches, expensive artwork, suitcases. Everything Ryan once proudly called success was carried outside and placed on the same front lawn where my belongings had been thrown only 3 days earlier. The neighbors watched quietly. No one smiled. No one celebrated. Justice doesn't need applause, it simply arrives. Ryan slowly walked toward me. His shoulders were no longer straight. His confidence had disappeared. I judged you. I thought money made me successful. I thought owning this house made me important. I looked at him calmly. No, you thought kindness was weakness. You believed that because someone lived quietly, they had nothing. You never asked where the mortgage money came from. You never asked who paid the insurance. You never asked why every financial problem somehow solved itself. You simply accepted the benefits and convinced yourself you had earned them. Ryan lowered his head. I'm sorry, I know, but apologies don't erase choices. They only prove you finally understood them. Mr. Harrison stepped beside me. Mrs. Taylor, the property has officially been returned to your possession. He handed me one final document. I signed it. One signature, less than 10 seconds. The same signature Ryan had mocked was the only signature that had ever truly mattered. Over the following weeks, I made a decision that surprised everyone. I sold the Bellevue mansion. Not because I needed the money, because I no longer wanted a home filled with painful memories. Instead, I bought a beautiful oceanfront house overlooking the Pacific. Every morning I watched the sunrise with a cup of coffee. Every evening I watched the waves roll onto the shore. For the first time since Daniel passed away, Life felt peaceful again. Not because I had won, because I had finally stopped carrying people who refused to appreciate me. 6 months later, Olivia came to visit. She arrived alone. No luxury SUV, no expensive handbag. No excuses, only honesty. We spent hours walking along the beach. She told me she had started rebuilding her life. She had found a smaller apartment, a new job. Most importantly, she had begun making her own decisions. Trust wasn't rebuilt overnight, but respect slowly returned. As for Ryan, I later heard he had moved to another state. He started over with a much smaller life. I truly wished him well, because revenge had never been my destination. Self-respect was, and once I reclaimed it, I realized something. The greatest victory in life isn't watching someone else lose. It's finally refusing to let them keep taking pieces of you. If someone mistakes your kindness for weakness, don't argue. Don't beg. Don't seek revenge. Simply stop giving them what they've taken for granted. Sometimes, that alone is enough to change everything. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more emotional, suspenseful, and satisfying revenge stories, don't forget to subscribe to Evelyn Tales and stay with us for the next unforgettable story.